So in this video, we're gonna show you how to complete the Anker E10 installation here, as well as our inlet box. And then we'll show you how to commission it. Next, I'm gonna go over everything that comes in the box with the Anker SOLIX E10. So over here, you have the battery down below, as well as the inverter. We have all the manuals for each of those, as well as this bracket here. Here's the inlet box. That's what these are going to tie into. Finally, we have some CTs, the manual for this inlet box here, as well as the screws to mount it, and the cables that you'll use to actually make the connection. Everything else, as far as tools, you'll have to bring with you to the installation site. When you take the cover off of the inlet box, you'll see that there's actually some plastic protection here to protect from any metal debris that might come in while punching the holes on the side of the inlet box. So in the panel here, make sure that you reserve 2 breaker spaces. This top one, the one that's closest to the actual grid breaker here, that's gonna be your backup breaker. And it needs to have an interlock, which we'll show a little bit later. The second space down here, this is your charging and discharging breaker. So now we've got the breakers installed. Make sure you check with the manufacturer of your panel so that you can buy the correct interlock device that matches with this manufacturer. The CTs, as you can see here, we have our 2 grid monitoring CTs, and we have our PV CT. If your PV is located in another panel, you'll need to reroute that CT in through so that you can tie it into the SIB here. The best practice tip for you guys is this. Make sure you label your CTs. In this example here, our PV CTs, we taped them yellow. And then our second CT, CT2, we taped red both on this side and over there in that panel, because if you get them switched up, the system will fail its self-check. If you have your CT length and it's too short, in this example here, our panel is very close to our SIB, so we didn't run into that issue. But if your panel is much further away than the length of the CT cables, your best option is to splice in another CT cable so you can extend the reach. Just make sure you know which CT you're splicing, if it's 1 or 2, which is why we have them labeled up here. So we've completed the mounting and wiring of the SIB behind me. Now we're going to move on to the mounting and installation of the batteries and inverter. Some things to consider when installing the E10 on its location specifically. It is fully outdoor rated, so it can be installed outside. It can also be installed inside the home, but not in living spaces. So make sure that you check with your local code requirements as to the limitations on where it can be installed. For example, the garage or the utility room in the basement. And then every region will have different requirements for things like flood requirements or flood zones, if a smoke alarm has to be installed or a fire alarm. So make sure you check with your local code and follow those rules. For this installation, we're going to show you how to use our wall mount, which is an optional add-on that you can purchase with your E10. So here is the box for that. And within the box, you'll find both the plate and the brackets. So now that the battery and inverters are mounted, we're going to show you how to connect it to the inlet box. Now that the installation is complete, getting the system commissioned is very, very easy. You just log into your Anker app here and you follow the steps on the phone. So here you can see that we have an interlock installed between our grid breaker and our backup breaker. So this interlock is preventing the backup breaker from being closed to the on position while we have grid power. So during a grid outage, this breaker would trip to off. You would slide this interlock up and then engage your backup breaker to the on position. And then that would stop the interlock from falling back down. And then when your grid power comes back on, you do the opposite. You turn the backup breaker off, lower the interlock, and then return your grid power back on. But one of the most important things to do when installing this E10 is to make sure that your loads that you actually have backed up do not exceed the power output of the inverter. So the power output of one E10 inverter is 7.6 kilowatts. So we made sure that there's no more than 7.6 max continuous kilowatts that could be pulled from this panel right here. Make sure that the top is not obstructed because we do have ventilation requirements for the battery. So there needs to be plenty of free space for air to flow. So another thing to consider about the ventilation for the battery itself is the wires here and how to run them through the wall mount. So the wall mount actually has a built-in little raceway that you want to make sure that the wires are tucked into so that the fans on this inverter here are not blocked and they can get the proper amount of ventilation that they need to the inverter.